Hi everyone, and welcome to this relatively short video on creating an amortization, it's quite a word, table in Microsoft Excel. So we're going to go through one example. This is all I'm going to ask you to do on the homework is just do a different example, make the table, make sure everything checks out right. There's actually a lot you can do with this, and I'll kind of talk you through why we would set this up and kind of how nice it is to set this up over trying to just use formulas for things. But we're not going to go that deep into it in any assignments. But still, just something nice that you now will have the power to do and use in your own finances. So our setup for the amortization table is we have a loan. We want to pay back the loan. And what this table does is shows us what it looks like to pay that loan, specifically what's our payment going to be each month. But then it helps us also break down and understand how much of that payment is going towards actually paying off the loan versus paying interest, what the bank, if that's who gave us the loan, is putting on top, charging us to have the loan. So we got to pay that off too. And then it will also keep track of the actual loan balance as we go through. And this is an important column that I'll talk about later, why it's so nice. So first things first, in the first box here, we're just going to figure out how much you have to pay for this loan. So you've seen some formulas for doing different things, and there's a formula you can use to calculate this. But we're going to have Excel do it because Excel already has that formula we've used plugged into it as a function. And so it's right over here, this first one, the monthly payment. But before we even use that, why don't we just pick out all the important pieces of this problem. So this one says we're going to borrow $300,000 for 30 years, 4% interest compounded monthly. So just like what you did before, you pick out important stuff. So N is, remember, the number of times a year you compound or pay the loan. We're pretending these are the same number, just to simplify a little bit. That's 12 because it's monthly. That's the key piece here, monthly 12. T is always the number of years, that's 30. The principal, that's just how much you started with. We started with a loan for $300,000, and then our rate is 4%. So we're not actually going to cell reference these, and that's something if you want to set this up to cell reference to kind of start the problem, come talk to me about that. There's just a little extra in Excel we'd have to learn about. It's not too bad, but it's not something I want to put on you to do now. So we're not going to cell reference those. We're just writing them there just so we can reference it and have it kind of just right out there. So payment, how do we do this? Well, equals PMT. So that's what it says right here, equals PMT. That's our function. And then I know this is hard to see, but if you do this in Excel as you're walking through this with me, you'll see that this says PMT right here. It knows what you're doing, and it says calculates the payment for a loan, and then that's what we know. Based on constant payments, that's what we want, and a constant interest rate. Yeah, okay, the interest rate's staying the same the whole time. Awesome. So I put a little parentheses, and then it's really nice. It even tells us kind of some of the stuff we have to put in. I put that over here, but still, it's pretty nice. So R over 12, 0.04 over 12, comma, and then I put in N times T. So that's 12 times 30. That's the total number of times I'm going to make a payment. 12 times a year for 30 years. Okay, and then lastly, I'm going to type in the 300,000 because that's how much I have to start. That's what my loan amount started as. So you can see that plugged in here. Hopefully you're kind of looking at this and being like, wait, a lot of this looks like the formula that I had. I had to do this R over 12. Yeah, that's familiar. And then, yeah, part of it I had to do this N times T. Well, that's just because Excel's using the formula we've used. So you've got to give it the information to plug in. So it should look similar. So let me hit enter, and that is our monthly payment. Now, that is our monthly payment every month. We pay the same amount. So I'm going to take this and drag it all the way down. Here we go. Think about this for a sec. Why did I stop at 360? Well, 360 is 12 months in a year times 30. 12 times 30 is 360. So I make 360 payments on my loan. And again, every single payment is the same. Okay, so we've done this work with formulas already. This is not a new thing we've calculated. You've done this practice with formulas. But what's new is I can actually figure out of this payment, I give the bank this much money after month 1. I can figure out how much of that goes to actually paying this off versus how much of that goes to paying off the interest that the bank just slapped on top of my loan. Because remember, the bank's not just giving you this money for free to use, they're charging you interest, right? They're saying, okay, you can have that money for now, but I'm going to charge you for using our money. And every month I'm going to charge you. And so you're paying for the loan with the interest, but you also have to pay the loan back too. And so you're paying extra. So what does that look like? Well, Excel gives us another nice function. It's right here. This one is PPMT. So that stands for the principal payment. So how much are you paying a month? Not just the whole thing, but what are you paying towards the actual loan that you're taking out? And it's very similar. You start with R over 12, just like we had done, comma. Don't forget your commas as you're doing this. Now, here's the new thing. This actually changes. This is not constant. This changes every month. So Excel needs to know what month we're in. But that's not too bad. We're in month 1 here with this first column, first row. So tell Excel month 1. You just got to click cell reference. That way when I drag down, it will now go to 2 and 3 and 4 as we drag down. Comma. Okay, N times T did that. 12 times 30, we've done that before. Comma. And then the amount of money that I started with, the 300,000. Okay. All right, hit enter. This is the amount of money I'm going to pay the first month towards the principal. So after month 1, I've paid the bank $1,432.25. Okay? But only $432.25 of that was actually to pay this down. That's all that was to pay that down. The rest of that money is to just pay interest. It's to pay you can think of it like the fee to the bank that the bank's charging me to use this money. So at first, it's quite a big chunk. How much is it? Well, if this is the total that I have to pay, this is the amount that goes to principal, then whatever is left over from that should be how much goes to interest. The difference. $1,000. $1,000 goes to interest the first month. $1,000 goes to the interest. What's my new balance on my loan? Well, this is the amount that goes toward goes towards the loan, so that's how much I need to take away. Now, your first guess might be, oh, that's easy. Just take my 300,000, take away, because I'm taking it away, my principal. What? What just happened there? It went up. Well, maybe you noticed this as I was going through here. These boxes, when I put in my formula, turn red. That's not usually what happens. I type stuff in, even formulas, it doesn't turn red. What Excel does, it thinks it's helping us even though it just messed us up. Each of these is treated as a negative number when it's red. So it's treating this as like a minus $1,432, which seems weird at first, but when you think about it, if you're trying to do things with budgeting and you're talking about loans, this is money that you are paying, right? So it is a negative. It's kind of it's coming out of your income. It's coming out of your revenue, whatever situation you're in. So it's a negative. Also, it decreases the amount that you owe. So it's a takeaway in that sense too. So in both of those senses, it's like a negative number. And so that's why Excel gives it to you that way. So I know this is pretty weird, but in actually in actuality, to make this up, we actually just add this number. Because if you do minus, which I know makes sense, you're actually doing 300,000 minus 432.25. Two minuses gives us a plus. So that's why it wasn't working before. But if I do a plus symbol now, I end up with 300,000 plus negative 432. And that's what I want. It takes away. And so you could just visually check that. You could check it in a calculator if you want. This works. So all we got to do is drag. Drag all the way down. I'm paying off my loan. I'm paying off my loan. Nope. There we go. Paid it off. Okay, go back up. And grab here. I'm paying off my loan. I'm paying off my loan. Oh, it paid off fast this time. All right. Goes down there. And then finally in this one, we've got to be a little tricky here, okay? It's not just the same thing. At this step, I have to, it's similar. I've got to take the balance and add to it this amount that I'm paying. So that's similar. But you got to think here, what's the balance I'm actually dealing with now? It's not the 300,000. No, I already got smaller. It's this amount. That was the new amount I owe on the loan after month one. So I've got to take that and apply my $433 to it. Now, this has gone down by $433.69. Now this is set up and I can just drag. And I want you to think about this as I'm going. I'll go a little slow, although you could just pause the video. You got to think to yourself, this is the balance of my loan. What number should I get by the time I get to the end? So here I go. Did you think about it yet? All right, think about it. Hold on, did you think about it yet? Okay, I'm just kidding. I'll keep going. Okay, I'll just keep going. Almost there. Almost there. Here we come. And what number should be here at the end when we're done paying our loan? Our balance, we should have $0 on our balance. That's how you check. Once you get here, you should owe nothing on your loan after you've made the last payment. It's the last payment. The bank comes knocking, you say, nope, paid off my loan. Look, $0. So there you go. We've paid off our loan. So a couple things to think about here, just to kind of notice when you have a loan, especially one as large as this one and paying off over so many years, when you first are paying things off, you're actually paying the interest mostly, right? $1,000 toward interest, $400 towards principal. So when you first are paying off a loan, you're paying off the interest a lot. The other thing to just kind of realize about this, and this is true with savings and loans, is that the interest, remember, the 4% divided by 12 that's getting applied every month, that's a nice chunk of change, pretty good chunk of change when the loan amount is high. When you've gotten down further and you've already paid off a lot of the loan, well, this interest isn't as bad. But the idea here is you got to start paying off the loan. Like, it's so important to start paying off, because if you don't start paying off the loan and they're adding interest, you can see how quick this is going to get out of hand, right? They're just going to take that $300,000 and boom, interest, and then remember what happens. The interest after month one, if you haven't paid anything, is going to be even more, because the interest that they charge you gets absorbed into the loan amount. So if you've missed a payment, like you didn't pay month one, you don't owe $300,000 anymore. You owe $300,000 plus that interest that they added on. It's no longer interest really anymore. It gets absorbed into the principal that you owe. And now they take that new bigger number and apply a percent to that. And so then that percent will get bigger. If you don't pay that, it gets bigger again, and bigger and bigger and more and more and more, and it gets out of hand. This is why debt is such a massive issue, because debt in itself, the way that debt is set up, right? The way that you can see savings and loans is set up, is it's set up to get harder and harder and harder. the more and more you can't pay it. So that's just the way that these things are currently set up, the way that this percent interest works. It's set up so that if you fall behind, it can become crushing. And so this is something that you just need to think about when you're getting a loan, when you're doing these types of things. You can do this. You got to be aware of what it looks like to take those loans out, what it looks like to have interest stack up, if you have a loan that has interest stacking up, and what it looks like to eventually pay this off. Okay, so kind of a lot of different things you can do here. Some other things you can do with this that are pretty quick and nice are you can do things like, how much did you pay in total? Right? We could do that pretty quick. Total paid. Like, how much did you just give the bank? Maybe you're interested in that. Well, how much did you pay them each month? 14. You could click this box, but remember it's negative, so it'll be a little weird. So we'll just type it. $1,432.25 times 360 payments. Right? That's how many payments you made. That's how much you paid. Look at this. $515,610 is what you paid. So over this whole time, the bank said, okay, here's your $300,000. I'll let you use that. You went and used it, and then you ended up paying them over $500,000 back. So that's their $300,000 plus $200,000 and a little bit more is what you paid in interest. That's what basically they charged you for using their money. Hefty amount of money paid here, right? That's pretty big. What other things can you do? So again, I'm not going to ask you to do kind of this next step stuff, but you know, the way that we have loans set up is not really how they work always. This is totally fine. You can go get a mortgage for 30 years, all this stuff. But your interest rates can change. This depends on how you set up the loan at the start. If it's variable interest, then that means variable means change. There are situations where you can pay off your loan earlier. Maybe this is your payment, and as you start, you're like, okay, yep, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. But maybe you get to year 12 times 4, that's not too bad, 48. So maybe you're here. You've just finished your 4th year of making these payments. Okay? Maybe you're now like, you know what? I can pay more of the loan. I can like increase my payment, or maybe you're saying to yourself, not like I know how much I can increase, but you're saying I can increase my payment and I want to be done with this a lot sooner. So what you could do is you could do it in here, but you probably, just to make it a little bit easier for yourself to see, you could do another one of these tables where you say, I don't want to have to pay 26 more years of this. I've gotten a big raise at work and I think I could pay it off sooner than waiting 26 more years. You take the principal that you currently have left, this number here, and then you just redo the table with your new time frame. This is why this column is so nice, because at any point in this loan you could stop and say, this is how much I owe the bank. I'm going to change something. Maybe my credit score went up quite a bit because I've been making these regular payments and I can get a better rate on this loan. Maybe I can refinance this loan and get a better rate so I don't have to keep paying 4%. That's a lot. Then you can say, this is how much I currently owe. Let's take that number plus my new percentage and recalculate. Maybe I can lower my payment. Or like I said before, the other way is maybe you say, you know what? I'll keep the same percent or I change it. I could still do that. How about at this point, I start paying more money so I could pay it off quicker? You can do that because you have all the information you need. So this is why amortization tables are so nice. You totally can see what you're paying, what it looks like, what the pieces look like, and you can use this big long timeline of payments to make changes partway through, to figure out what things look like if you make changes partway through. So I'm not going to ask you to do that in the homework, but I just want you to be aware that that's something you can do, and it's it's kind of neat that you don't need to have all of this hidden behind some like wall of it's loans and amortization and big scary words. No, you can make this table. You could see what's going on with your loan. You can see how much you're getting charged in total for this. And you can make the decisions on whether or not it's worth it to do this exactly or do other things. So you've got the tools, you can understand how these things work, and you can make sure you're getting the best deal. And when you sign up for something, you understand really what it entails. So that's it. This is how you will do the last problem of the third written homework. This is an amortization table. Any questions, feel free to ask about it. If you want to try to do any of the things I talked about that are in addition, not stuff you'll have to do, happy to talk to you about kind of how to do that in the Excel sheet, and also happy to talk to you about how to set things up so that you can make this referenced in your sheet so that you can play with this. You can go, you know what, actually I want to change this to a loan for only 20 years. How's that going to change everything? And you can kind of see how things can change, and I'm happy to help you with that if you want. So any questions, let me know.